Good morning. This is the Blaine Throw webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You get more information, find about past shows and future shows at our website, which is behind me, blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on positive news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce John Owens and Michael Cotey. Cotey, am I pronouncing it right?
You got it right.
Thanks for taking the time to talk about a stage reading of Enough, Place to End Gun Violence. It's upcoming. And guys, you can feel free to wave to all your fans and friends on Facebook and anybody watching this. So give a big wave. Okay, there we go. Okay, I should mention John Owens has worked for over 40 years in television and video production as a photographer, editor, producer, and writer, uh, winning more than 20 Emmy Awards for story and series productions and documentaries. John is a gun violence survivor. Michael Cotey is a Chicago-based theater director and producer. He created Enough Place to End Gun Violence, calling on teens to confront gun violence by creating new works of theater that will spark critical conversations and inspire meaningful action in communities across America. So the first question, guys, I ask is in terms of getting involved, I guess, in theater. I'll first ask John, how old were you when you first got involved in theater and shows and stuff like that?
Well, my background Blaine, is not really in theater. My background is in television
Okay.
production, and I sort of have gotten involved slightly with Hendersonville Theater through my wife, who's Sarah Hassinger, who stage manages there quite often. I have also been the head of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense here in this area for quite a number of years because I'm a gun violence survivor. I heard about Enough a few years ago and thought, wow, this is really a creative way to tackle issues of gun violence. And so Hendersonville Theater staged a production in 2023, which I was happy to be a part of in terms of helping to publicize it and get as many resources involved as I can and get them enthusiastic about it. And so I'm happy now in 2025 uh, to also have Hendersonville Theater present this staged reading of Enough Place to End Gun Violence on Monday, October the 6th at 7:30 p.m.
So back to the TV production stuff you did. When did you start getting involved in that?
Well, out of college, I've been, was involved for many years doing all sorts of work in all sorts of different productions. I met my wife at a television station in Detroit. And it was there, unfortunately, in 20 years ago, walking into that television station, that I was confronted by somebody with a gun and a mental illness problem who sort of randomly shot me point blank. It was a very, I'm glad that I survived that shooting. It was touch and go, but I did suffer a fairly significant spinal cord injury. But after a year of rehabbing, I managed to start walking again. I still have the after effects of that shooting. And, as I often say at our meetings, gun violence has a ripple effect that just doesn't just affect the victim. It affects the families, it affects their friends, and ultimately affects their community, a place of business, or wherever it happens. We had two really tragic gun violence incidents here this weekend. One in a church in Michigan, where at least four people were are dead from again a very terrible attack on a church there. And then here in North Carolina, over in a bar area in Southport, North Carolina, Saturday evening, a person randomly came off a boat and started to shoot in a bar, leaving two dead and several injured. So this is as I see it, an epidemic in this country. I'm looking for ways to get the word out. We have a number of ways we try to get the word out about gun violence prevention, and I think enough is really a very powerful way to talk about all the various issues around gun violence in these six wonderful one acts that have been written by these teen playwrights that Michael can tell you more about.
Ms. Michael, I'll ask you the same question in terms of your interest, I guess, in gun violence started how or when?
Yeah. So, I come initially from a theater background, and I found myself on February 14th, 2018 in rehearsal. And that is also the day that the Parkland shooting happened in Parkland, Florida. And the way I remember it is that we were on a break and someone saw the news on their phone and everyone reacted in the way that you would expect people would react in that moment, with a lot of anger and disgust and why does this keep on happening? And then we went back to rehearsing a play. And that just left me feeling really sick, that this felt like I was looking at America in that moment of what we do when these things happen. We react and then we don't respond. We just kind of move on. And I thought, well, theater could have a response. Like theater could have a role in this. And I don't see us particularly doing much in this moment as a theater community. But so I knew I wanted to do something. I knew I would wanted to break my own complacency around the issue. A director and producer. I knew that we needed material, which we didn't have. And what I saw come out of Parkland, was this beautiful youth movement of young people telling us to pay attention and telling us to do something and leading that force of change. And I thought, okay, we don't need to get professional quote unquote playwrights to write plays. I mean, if they want to, they can go do that. What we need to do is we need to bring youth voices center stage on this. And so it took a little while for me to come to this conclusion and really work up I don't know, to get myself moving on it. But it was then in 2019, there was two back-to-back mass shootings. It was El Paso and Dayton. And I spent that day feeling like, okay, if I don't take this idea and do something with it, I am certainly not part of the solution. I'm definitely part of the problem. And that's when 2019, I just started calling and emailing every theater professional and company that I could across the country. And now we're 6 years later, and we're in our fourth cycle of the program, doing teen plays in 70 communities this coming week.
Now, the plays themselves, are they the same or do they change over time?
They change over time. So this is the fourth cycle. Each cycle has had its own unique program of plays. In total, we've received more than 700 plays from teen writers across the country. Every year, though, we pick, it's the numbers change, but we've kind of settled on six plays that will be the program that everyone's able to do. And those six plays are really meant to be looking at this issue of gun violence from different perspectives. So you aren't just going to get plays that are about school shootings or mass shootings. The issue is much larger than that. So you get this year you have plays that are about the intersection between gun violence and what it means to be a young black man in America, and specifically the role community violence intervention plays in that. You have a play that is about gun violence in relation to domestic violence. You have a play about two young activists coming out of a school shooting. You have a play where one of the characters is deals with suicide and being a veteran, suicide by gun and being a veteran. So we really try to pick six plays that are in conversation with one another, that give a wide breadth of narratives that tackle the issue of gun violence. And yeah, every year they change. And then after the reading, The plays then get published and they're made available for folks to do in performance or as tools for advocacy.
And describe, if you would, the process. So somebody writes a play, and do you have a competition, or do they submit it to a website? How does it get into the
Yeah.
hub?
Yeah, when we do a call for submissions, we do a call for teen writers, which we define as 13 to 19 years old, teen writers across the country to submit short 10-minute plays that confront the issue of gun violence. That's the prompt. There's no like, I have my own point of views on what should be done about gun violence, but I don't lead with my personal views on what the solutions are. We say to young people, we want you to write a play confronting this issue. If you could write a play that doesn't depict the moment of violence, great. Like, because there's ways of talking about a story of gun violence that doesn't just depict violence over and over again. So then we have this window of time open, usually in the spring. We get submissions across the country, and then it all goes through a reading process. We get around 70 theater professionals from across the country, writers, actors, directors, educators, to read through the plays. And every play, regardless of what stage in the reading process they go to, every play gets feedback from three readers, which is, I think, pretty unique. It's not usual that someone would put their play into a competition and get feedback, but it felt almost criminal not to practice what we preach and make sure that these young people know that their plays are being read and their voices are being heard. So we go through two rounds of this general reading, and then we narrow it down to 20 plays that then go off to our selection committee. And every year, our selection committee, I joke, kind of feels like an Avengers level of professionals that we bring together. So we've had Academy Award winning writers, Pulitzer Prize winning writers. This year, we had Congresswoman Gabby Giffords and New York Times bestselling author Jason Reynolds, along with James Imes, who is the recent Pulitzer Prize winner, Karen Zacharias, who's one of the most produced playwrights in the country, Kate Hamill, one of the most produced playwrights in the country, and Ken Cerniglia, who is a Broadway dramaturg. So we bring, these awesome creative forces together to then help select these six plays, and then those 20 finalists get feedback from that amazing group as well. And then what we do is we package these plays together, and we make that and a bunch of other resources available to producing organizations across the country to do this for free. We don't charge people to be a part of the project. We say, if you want to bring this to your community and you are thinking about how you can engage the community on this issue, you are going to get these plays and all of our resources for free, so you can join us on a nationwide reading day where we're all reading these plays at the same time.
And John, how do you find out about this, I guess, in the first place, and how do you then get involved at that point in time?
Well, actually, I think I first heard about it back in 2021. Michael, did you have it? Yeah. And there was a staged reading of Enough in Black Mountain at the Mountain Center for the Arts. And it was really organized by a woman that I'm very close to in the gun survivor community, which is Natalie Howe. Natalie Howe lives in Waynesville. She lost her son Riley uh, to gun violence in 2019 as he was trying to protect students from a shooter at UNC Charlotte. It was a very, a tragic shooting,
Mm.
devastated Natalie and her family. And like all survivors, we look for ways, how can we take this horrible thing that happened in our lives and find some sort of purpose, or what do we do with this? And I know Natalie, that, she worked through her issues and then finally found her voice, and has been speaking out, speaking for gun violence prevention. And she brought this production through her organization that she started, the Riley Howe Foundation, to Black Mountain in 2021. And I saw the production again using local community theater actors generally and was really struck by it. So I brought the idea to Hendersonville Theater 2 years later. And now here we are in 2025. And again, I'm a big supporter of Enough. And uh, again, the Riley Howe Foundation is one of the pe people that is supporting our production in Hendersonville this coming Monday, October the 6th. And I'm telling you, these plays that these kids have written are unbelievable in terms of the creative and interesting ways they tackle these issues. I was at a rehearsal the other day, and I mean, I think everybody that read through them for the first time just came away just um, emotionally changed by what they were reading. I mean, it literally brings tears to your eyes when you hear the voices of these teen playwrights. So um, I think anybody that attends this will come away with a powerful experience. Um, and So would hope that you might, if you're in the area and have the ability to attend, come to Hendersonville Theater October the 6th for the stage reading, 7:30. Um, we have a $10 suggested donation. You don't have to donate. You can donate more. Again, Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense, myself and the volunteers that I help organize around this area will certainly be out uh, to experience these readings in person.
And if folks want to go to the production at Hendersonville, is that on their website and they can get more information
Yes,
on it?
it is. You go to
And
hendersonvilletheater.org. You can purchase tickets, get seats. There's still good seats available. So it's right in there among all the other sorts of things they're doing there at the theater right now.
okay. And Michael, from a national standpoint, so is there a way to get information on these events throughout the country?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a page dedicated to this, the nationwide effort. So it's enoughplays.com/reading. On there, you'll see a map with all of our readings, a listing of every reading, and a link to the uh, particular tickets to those events if we've gotten one from our partners. There's also video profiles that we're putting up of partners who have submitted sort of interviews of why they're doing this, why are they bringing this to their community. So yeah, enoughplays.com/reading will give people the larger national overview.
Now, has this ever been made virtually? Can anybody see the shows if they can't make it in person?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we usually provide some kind of virtual digital option, not necessarily on October 6th, but at some point after the reading. So I know we have a sort of our cornerstone reading is going to be in Atlanta, Georgia, with Alliance Theater and a gun violence prevention group called Jared's Heart of Success. We're going to be recording that performance, and at least that one should be expected to go online at some point after the reading. But other past previous readings have also been digitized. So there is last in 2023 we had those plays we did at the Kennedy Center, and those plays are up on the Kennedy Center's YouTube page. And back in 2022 we were at Lincoln Center, so those plays are up on that page as well.
And I guess I should know it, but I don't, I think. October 6th, is there a significance on that date?
That from my, I mean, it's always a chance that there is a possibility that, that no date is left unscarred by this issue. We didn't intentionally pick October 6th as a particular day. We have done that in the past where previously we had done it, a year out from the election.
Right.
We had done it on Columbine and Sandy Hook, but October 6th is just a day. And actually, I like both the significance of doing it on a day for sure. It brings an extra resonance to it, but also, we are picking a day that isn't particularly marred or scarred by a tragedy, and we're saying we're going to have this conversation today. And we're not going to have this conversation just in the aftermath of a terrible event, but we're going to take time and space and our energies to do it today, because we can. So I like the idea that we're not necessarily doing it just because a day is marred by like a mass casualty event, because also the issue is a lot bigger than that too.
Have any of these shows that have been done either in Hendersonville or elsewhere, um, Michael, had legs? Have they gone on to be shown elsewhere or gone into production elsewhere?
Yeah, we've had a number of, especially like youth theaters or high schools, produce the plays just like you would any other play as part of a high school season. Every time we do a reading, we have somewhere between 50 to 70 locations across the country doing it at the same time. Some of our plays are being developed into short films. So, a play from our 2022 lineup called Rehearsal has been made into a tremendous short film that we're putting through film festivals right now and kind of looking to find legs for after that. So yeah, and you know, my big hope and goal for the plays, because after this year we'll have 27 short plays, incredible short plays, and if they just sit on my shelf and gather dust, then we've really done, the young playwrights who wrote them a disservice. So my goal is to them into develop curriculum for them, develop ways that they can be utilized, both in a theater, but also in a classroom, but also in an advocacy sense, because they are a quick and impactful way of getting through and having a conversation around the issue that isn't just about statistics or headlines or things that we have grown, unfortunately, very numb to.
And in terms of other people putting these enough days together, is that also available at your website? It would be, I guess, primarily would be a theater company would contact you, or do other people produce these as well?
Yeah, that's actually the great thing, Blaine, is that we have companies of all shapes and sizes. So from community theaters to giant regional theaters, from high school theater companies that are doing it for their community or just in their classroom, to gun violence prevention groups or faith-based groups doing readings. And we just kind of welcome anybody who wants to do them. People who are doing in person, some people who are doing digital. There's one group in, where is it? In upstate New York, I believe, that's doing it on the radio. So, we try to make this as open source as possible and reduce any barrier to keep people from doing the plays.
And if anybody would be interested in getting involved in it, again, go to the website and there's information
Exactly.
there.
Yep, exactly.
And the
Same
website,
page, enoughplays.com/reading.
okay. And if I can, uh, John, talking about at Hendersonville. So it's happening, and you mentioned they've been in rehearsal on this already. Um, so talk about at Hendersonville. So they've been in rehearsal for how long for this? Do you know?
They just had one rehearsal so far, and they'll have another one this week. And and we'll get it all together for the 6th. Again, this is a staged reading. This is not your traditional theater with the big set and everything. We have volunteers that are coming in, reading these plays with obviously in character and putting their own take on it. Uh, we might build some other elements into it that the playwrights have called for. But it's really the words of these playwrights that you want to make sure that connect with the audience. Because again, they tackle all these various issues from really interesting angles that make you think. And I think that they have a power to them because they come from a generation of students that have grown up in the days of shootings and lockdown drills. So they have a really unique perspective on the issue. And, I hope audiences will listen to them.
At Hendersonville, is there any one person involved in directing all six, or do you have different directors?
Ashley Goff is the
Oh,
director for this production, and she's volunteering her time in her busy schedule to bring this together. And again, I think anybody that's involved in it, is involved for a reason, because one, they want to support this organization and what Michael's doing, and two, bring it to a theater like in Hendersonville and Henderson County, which is a very red county. Lots of gun owners in our county. I've been working on gun violence prevention in this area for a few years. And But we don't want that to stop us. I mean, that's the reason that you want to produce plays in places like Hendersonville. I think that's one of the reasons it's important to get out to the audience in this area.
and at Hendersonville, I'll take a guess. Do we know the stage manager of the readings? Do we know the person?
Well, my wife Sarah will be certainly helping out with stage managing this production, and
Just
so
does a great job. So Sarah's the
yeah, yeah,
best.
no, she's very good at what she does, and
So fantastic. Something to look forward to. And Michael, back to then the effect of this. Have you seen any results in terms of does this work? Does it help people get more involved in the cause?
I think that, after doing this for 6 years and trying to figure out like what the impact has been, I think the biggest opportunity for impact at the current moment with this is that, there will be 70 locations across the country doing these plays. And yes, in a red county like Johns County, like it would be amazing if people who are on the other side of this issue self-selected to come to a thing called Enough Plays to End Gun Violence. But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm not under any illusion that that's happening like en masse, right? But what does happen is that there's a lot of people who come who do care about this issue, on a just a human level, who are empathetic on what's happening, who do not agree that this is a that gun violence is preordained in our country, that it's just a way of life, And the difference is that they haven't really been moved to act. Maybe they feel like there's nothing they would do that would make a difference, or they don't know where to start, or whatever, they've got other priorities. And I think what the plays do is that they bring people in collision with what's happening in communities all across the country. So if you're not in like John, who has been a survivor of this issue, if you are in the other half of the population, this brings it in close proximity. And you're watching it in your community with perhaps people you know from your community. Like if you're an aunt or an uncle or a mom or dad, grandparent, you're seeing kids on stage performing these plays. You learn that these are written by young people who are living in the world right now, and they're reflecting back to us what's wrong with it. And that has the opportunity to pierce through in the way that, we just had another terrible mass shooting. A month ago, it was a different church in a different state, and we're not even talking about it anymore. So, when what I have seen happen is that people watch the plays and are primed to do something. They want to know, like, what do I do? And if you have an organization like Moms or like another gun violence prevention group on site that says, I can see that you are ready. Sign up for this next, we're going to meet next week or next month. Sign up here, or, here's a gun lock, or here's information about what needs to be done in our community. Because here's the thing is like, I used to think that it was just about awareness. Like we're just kind of getting awareness out. And I've grown to think that awareness is cheap. Like we're not aware. Like we're aware. We might not be aware of the extent and breadth of this issue, but we are aware enough that we shouldn't feel like we need to get more aware to get active. And I think what I hope that we're providing to 70 communities across the country is that we are some kind of catalyst. We're some kind of, in playwriting, you talk about the inciting incident. Like we're somehow the inciting incident for some people in that community to move from being people who care and think about this issue to people who do and act on this issue.
And John, I'm
So
thinking,
Blaine,
yeah,
just
go
that's
ahead.
yeah. We'll have for instance, we'll have a resource there from our group that if you want to sign up and join our email list and want to get involved in Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense, there'll be a way to do that while you're there at the theater on Monday. And the kind of things we do is like, for instance, we're tabling this weekend at Farm City Day, which is a kind of a rural uh, festival here in Henderson County. And we're going to have a booth there to talk about safe gun storage because we know there's a lot of gun owners. And we want to make sure if they do have firearms, they're locking them up because one of the big problems we have is unintentional shootings, often leading to kids shooting other kids because they got access to a gun, or kids, teenagers who, in an impulse decision, find a gun and commit suicide. And, so safe gun storage is one of the messages that we are constantly out in the community engaging with people about. And if that's the kind of issue that people want to get involved in, there'll be a way to sign up and we can tell them how to get involved. And enough gives us that capacity to bring people in, talk to them, and then hopefully engage them a little bit and tell them there are ways to take this message or do something about it.
Mhm.
Action steps.
I'll ask you both one final question, and I'll start with uh, John, having to do with people invited to this event. Have you invited, for example, our illustrious Congressman, Chuck Edwards? Where does he get invited to these events, and is there any way we could ever get him
We
to this?
we invite the local school board, local legislators, um, and people in the community. Frankly, I haven't heard back from any of them. We have a very conservative, pro-gun uh, congressional leaders in this community, though we actually have a very good relationship with the Hendersonville Police Department because they are all about safe storage and locking up guns, and we just partnered with them at the Apple Festival to pass out free gun locks. So I don't expect to see any legislative leaders at our show, but we would certainly welcome if they wanted to come.
And that'd be the same question, Michael, to ask you. Have you ever gotten, it'd be great if we could ever get people, quote, on the other side of this issue, because
Yeah.
just even asking the question, it has me thinking, you don't have to be pro-gun or anti-gun. You can be pro-gun all you want, but there's no reason you can't support these shows and support this movement. Do you ever get anybody from, quote, the other side to support this or back it?
Anecdotally, I can't say that, we've gotten a congressperson who is,
All right.
yeah. So, but we've had folks in public office, representatives from Congress. When we were in the Kennedy Center, we had folks from the then Office of Gun Violence Prevention there. We get a lot of local folks coming in, so your mayors, your superintendents, your council members, which is just as important as getting people on the national level too.
Good
But
point.
it is, it's hard and it's easy to ignore an invitation. And um, it's probably for some of them, they probably see it as politically toxic to show up at an event called Enough Plays to End Gun Violence in the first place. So yeah, it's I mean, I'm sure John could speak more to this at length at some other point, but like there that is a constant struggle because it's become so politicized. When it shouldn't, it really shouldn't be. There's things on here that I think most people would agree on that aren't political, like there's too many kids and people dying. And I think that's what the plays offer, however, is that the plays offer an opportunity, like a common meeting place to talk about the issue that doesn't necessarily boil it down to right or wrong, left or right, blue or red. It's respond to the plays, have a conversation with each other through the plays and what these young people are trying to say to us.
At the plays, is there at the end a discussion period, or is there time to get feedback from the audience?
We're going to have a short talk back. If people want to talk to me or the actors or the director, or maybe if some uh, official does come to our play, we'd certainly give them an opportunity to speak. But yeah, I mean, the audience, may have some questions. So we'll just give them, it'll be very informal. We have no formal, sometimes people organize very formal discussions because they know they have a lot of community leaders coming there. But that won't be the case in Hendersonville. We'll keep it informal, but let the audience, because I know they'll have things they'll want to express after watching this, and we'll give them an opportunity to do that.
Okay, and John, just to recap, the date of it's October 6th, obviously the date. To get information, best bet is to go where to the website, which is
Yeah, Hendersonville Theater. Go to their website. You'll see enough. And you can, October the 6th, 7:30. There are still seats available, and I encourage people to show up and experience this in person.
and I should mention, or I should ask you to mention, are we spelling theater the correct way or the incorrect way, or which way do we spell theater?
Theater, it's the R-E at the end, not the E-R. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. And Michael, the same question. If folks want to get information about your organization, find out more about what you do, I guess they can also volunteer or make donations to it. Is that available as well?
Yeah, 100%. Enoughplays.com is where you'll find all the information about what it is that we do. Enoughplays.com/reading is about the nationwide reading, and slash donate is if anyone would like to donate. And then we do get a lot of information out there on social media. So Facebook and Instagram, it's at Enough Plays Project, and that's a way you can follow us there.
And now you'll also be on Blaine's World. So that's all. So on social
There it
media.
is.
Anyway,
There it
guys,
is.
I want to thank you very much. Great work that you do, and I appreciate you being my guest today. Also, I thank my producer, Cappy Tassetti. And I'll say, John, I'm sure I'll bump into you down the road. Michael, I'm not so sure, but who knows? Thanks, guys. This was great.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.